Over to
Okay,
you, Richard.
I'm going to just share my screen. So, okay, good evening. Welcome, everybody. My favourite butterfly moments. I've got many over the past 10, well, probably 40 years. But one of my favourites goes back to 23rd of June, uh, 2022. And I was, as I usually am, the end of June, I was visiting NEP, which is a rewilded space in just over the Surrey into the Sussex border. It's probably, well, Brian might not have heard of it, but I'm sure a lot of people listening have. And the species we were looking for was the purple emperor. And you can find, if you're very lucky, end of June and into July, lots and lots of enthusiasts go looking out for the purple emperor. So on this particular day, it was bright sunshine, hardly any wind, and it was about, I don't know, 11 o'clock in the morning, and we came across a male purple emperor um, just taking mineral salts on the path. And then we waited and sneaked up for a photograph. And this is the butterfly if when the light is not coming directly above, and it looks a bit like a white admiral. But so we followed it for a while, and then suddenly you get the light shine reflecting off of one or both of the wings, and you get this lovely blue purple sheen. And so we were watching, waiting, and then it flew off into a hawthorn bush, and we still managed. It was quite cooperative. We still managed to get some good shots, and he'd been taking salts off the path, and here he is cleaning his tongue or his proboscis on a leaf. Oh, sorry. Um, and then it flew up into a hazel thicket, and it was about head height. So still a great shot to take. And then I've been waiting for maybe, I don't know, all my butterfly life to see the next shot, which was a double wing view, purple on both sides, and he's not on anything nasty like a fox scat on the path. He's just sitting on a hazel leaf. So that was one of the really special moments for me. Thank you. Okay,
Thanks,
I'm going to
Richard.
stop sharing now. So
We're all very envious of that photo.
thank you.
If anybody wants to ask Richard a question, now's the time. But we all know Nep well if we're from Britain, I think. Who's volunteering to go next? Was it Stephen? Did you want to go?
I'm willing to have a go. I'm a bit rusty on Zoom about how to share the screen, but certainly have a go.
It's a green button at the bottom, should work.
The green.
Right in the middle.
Pardon?
Should be in the middle, I think. Or you could just do butterfly impersonations.
Should we move on to somebody else while you figure that out?
Yeah, I'll work that out.
I'll go.
Okay, Brian, you go.
Yeah, I don't have any pictures to share, but so I'm 70, and all my life I've been interested in various aspects of nature, caterpillars and butterflies and things like that when I was a little boy, and then I got interested in girls and forgot all about those things. But when I got out of college and I was about 25 years old, I got seriously interested in butterflies again. So that's 45 years ago. and I've been doing them for a long time. And one of the things that I really love about butterflies is butterfly migration. I study migration of all kinds of things, not mammals too much. I love to watch mammal migration, and I got to see some fantastic mammal migrations in my life, and I study bird migration to a great extent, but I study butterfly migration too, and it's a severely understudied part of Lepidoptera, the migrations. I mean, people talk about them, and in America they talk ad nauseum about, not ad nauseum, I beg your pardon, but a lot about about monarch migrations. And if you mention butterfly migration, everybody says, "Oh yes, monarchs." And monarchs are fantastic and they're wonderful. And last year, my friends and I raised 800 monarchs, and we loved it. But there's all kinds of other migrations that are going on, and they're very low key, and the butterflies tend to go by you. And the one thing great about bird migrations is that, you know, that sometimes there are flocks of 50,000 swallows swooping around, or 100,000 or 500,000 shearwaters on the coast of Australia. But in butterfly migrations, lots of times the butterflies come really close, which the birds don't come close. And the butterfly migration that we see in America, in the Northeast where I live, tends to be within 6 feet of the ground. So I'm 6 feet tall, so everything flies by me at eye level or below, almost everything. And most of the butterflies that I see migration are quite big. They're nymphalids. So we have 6 families of butterflies in America, and the nymphalids, the brush-footed butterflies, are big, showy butterflies, not as big as the swallowtails, but still big. And so when I go out looking for migrant butterflies, I bump into them sometimes in the springtime. And when I see them in the springtime migrating, it's a low-key affair, but sometimes it's an affair that's hundreds of miles wide. I once drove out to the Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame, which is 175 miles away from me. And all the way there were painted ladies crossing the road, left to right, south to north, and all the way home, they were coming right to left. It was fantastic. But it's something that people don't see because they're thinking that they need to see a big flock of something. So when I go out, when fall rolls around, then we do see more regular migrations that we can sort of count on. And we hope the wind's in the right direction. I hope the wind's in the right direction. And off I set from home, and I go to the coast with my fingers crossed. And the migrations on the coast are very interesting because the butterflies fly into the wind. I don't know if they do that in England, but in the fall here, the butterflies are flying southwest. The migrant butterflies are flying southwest, and they include monarchs, and they include the Vanessas, red admirals, and painted ladies, and American ladies, and morning cloaks, question marks. They're flying southwest, but they won't move if there's a northeast wind, which is the wind that's right behind them and push them in the right direction. So we didn't know that beforehand. And it's one of the things that we found out studying these butterflies by looking at the wind direction stuff. But anyway, it's marvelous to go down to the coast. And I love the adventure of going out and looking for butterflies and not knowing what to expect. That's what I really like about studying nature. I like to walk out the door and go to a new place and see what I can find. And it's a new place every day when you're looking at when you're looking at butterfly migration. So we have sometimes along the coast we have thousands and thousands and thousands. I remember one time I was a teacher at the time, elementary teacher, and I took my students up on the roof of my building, my 3rd grade students, 8 and 9 years old, to look at migration. And in 3 hours, 1,500 monarchs flew by. And I came downstairs at the end of school and called home and said, I'm not coming home right now. I'm going to the beach because if there's 1,500 monarchs at my school, who knows how many there are at the coast. And the coast has that effect of concentrating everything. The butterflies come down and they hit the coast and then they fly along. And when I got down to the coast, everyone I ran into that recognized me as the butterfly guy said, you should have been here today, Brian. There were so many butterflies. And still, in the 3 hours I was there, I saw 15,000 monarchs and about 4,000 other butterflies flying by. So that's my little gab. I love butterflies for 1,000 reasons, but I really love to watch butterfly migration.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm all envious of that, that's for sure.
Well, we have it here.
Wow. Never seen that many.
That's amazing.
It is
They
amazing.
do. I've noticed red admirals, they fly into the wind when they're migrating south.
Right. So can I have
So, and
Can I
they're
have
the
one more
same
minute?
family. So,
Can I
Go
have
ahead,
1
Brian.
minute?
Go ahead, Brian.
yeah. So carry on.
So I told Simon this recently, but I'm going to share with everybody that once in the springtime, at the end of May, I was on the shore of Massachusetts on an island, facing you, facing all of you, looking out over the water, looking for warblers and sparrows and things, bird migration. And in 1 hour, 10,000 red admirals showed up, all flying in off the ocean within 5 feet of the waves. And I still don't have an explanation except to think that they were migrating at a tremendous altitude and that just when they got near shore, they dropped down. So there was no land between me and Europe. And in 1 hour, 10,000 red admirals showed up and came flying by. And so just so you know, my friends, I spend lots and lots and lots of time learning how to estimate things and count things. I'm known for that. So 10,000 was the right number of butterflies showing up. It wasn't 500 or something like that. It was amazing. So if anybody has any ideas about where the heck all those butterflies came from, I think they came from you.
Wow.
Brian, I think we got an American painted lady which turned up. I think it was in the Scilly Isles this year, quite recently, I believe.
Really, where all the American migrants show up in the Scillies, don't they? The bird watchers go there in September, I think, to try to see warblers and sparrows and things. Wow, an American lady, fantastic. So that's Vanessa virginiensis, and yeah, a beautiful little thing. They live for months in my yard. I'm bragging. I live in the middle of Foxborough in a tiny little plot, and I have 70 species of butterflies recorded in my yard. So that's not fair. That's not fair to a country that doesn't have them.
Yeah, 70.
Okay. Yeah.
No, that's
Anyway.
not fair, Brian.
Next person. Next. I know it's not.
Stephen, are you able to share now?
Yeah, let's have a go.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. That was super.
Okay.
There we go. Yep, that's coming through.
Good. There we are. Okay, for the last 17 years of my life, I've been involved in Heath Common Reserve in Shropshire, the last sanctuary for the silver-studded blue butterfly in the Midlands. It's been a major project of heath flume restoration, principally on former arable land, and that's showing some really good early results. But I'm going to talk about a little bit about the silver-studded blue butterfly, and I was asked to say something what I really enjoy about the butterfly. Here we have a silver-studded blue butterfly egg. You see, it's an absolutely fantastic structure. That picture was of a Priest Heath silver-studded blue egg taken with a microscope by a colleague, and the detail on that is just absolutely fantastic. And to think that there is a tiny caterpillar just over 1 millimeter long curled up inside that egg. The really amazing thing about the egg is that the female butterfly lays the egg very close to an ant's nest. At Priest Heath is the Lasius niger, the black ant, that has this relationship with the butterfly. When the butterfly hatches as a caterpillar, the ants continue to care for it. And in return, the caterpillar gives the ants sugary secretions from a gland at the rear of its body. Some of the caterpillars' final instar are brown, some are green. Don't quite know why that is, but you can see the ants go absolutely mad to try and get the caterpillar to excrete sugary secretions, mainly from a gland at the rear of its body. So really, really amazing relationship between the caterpillar and the ants. When the caterpillar pupates, the ants continue to look after it. It pupates either in or near an ant's nest. You can see the ants there, 2 ants in that picture, just tending to the chrysalis, continuing to protect it from being predated by spiders or parasitized by small wasps or flies that like to inject their eggs into the body of the caterpillar. And then when it emerges in the morning, the butterfly is still vulnerable for the first hour or so of its life, and the ants continue to tend it, and the butterfly continues to give the ants sugary fluids, mainly from its face. And you can see the ants tapping away at the butterfly to try and get it to excrete some lovely fluids. The butterfly remains completely motionless during that process. For the first hour of its life, can't fly until it's pumped up its wings, and then it's ready to fly off and find a mate. There's a mating pair, and you can see the silver studs, silvery blue studs, just on the edge of the underside of the hind wing. They don't all have them. Females tend to have better studs than the males, don't know why that is, but you can see them there, a mating pair. And another feature of the silver-studded blue is that in the evening or in bad weather, they form communal roosts. They all tend to roost together in the taller vegetation. And in that shot there, I think it's about 20, 25 silver-studded blues. The males are the blue ones, the females are the brown ones. Hope this works. This is what you see if you come on a sunny day in the summer at Priest Heath. So that's the end of my talk. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Stephen. The question asking where is that, please? It's near Whitchurch in Shropshire. Not a bit south of Cheshire and that sort of area, Nantwich. And Stephen was kind enough to host me there 2 years ago when I'm doing my bike ride, and we turned up on a rather poor day, didn't we, Stephen? Me and Callum a bit glum, and
Really well. It was drizzling.
yeah, but the sun came out a little bit, and we saw lots of, not quite as many as that, but lots of silver studs, and it was one of my best moments. Of I was going to talk about that tonight, but it was one where my heart soared when they flew up in the sunshine. So it was great to see, and it's fabulous work by Butterfly Conservation to make that, restore that reserve. It really is a gem. I thoroughly recommend it. Thank you, Stephen. Those pictures were wonderful, and the ecology of the butterfly is just mind-blowing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Who would like to go next? Chris?
I will. Yeah, I don't mind, or if somebody else wants to, I don't mind.
Chris and then Corinne? Is that right, Corinne?
Okay, yep.
Okay, over to you, Chris.
Right, here we go. I'll just share my screen.
Do you want to do a quick introduction, Chris, as to who you are? And
yeah, I'm Chris Austick. I live on the Isle of Mull, which is just off the west coast of Scotland. Some of you may know it. I describe myself as a naturalist, really, a lifelong naturalist, like many people. In the last few years, I've been really focusing on Lepidoptera quite intensively. The Isle of Mull is well known for things like eagles and otters, but it's relatively under-recorded for invertebrates generally. So there's lots of scope here for finding new things, and that's something that well, gets me out of bed in the morning, really. I like, as Brian said, going out and just finding what's there. I tried to think of a favourite moth or butterfly, and I couldn't really, so I'm just going to talk very, very quickly about a few sort of wonderful finds that I've been lucky enough to make in the last couple of years. I also like using different ways of looking for moths particularly. And a couple of years ago, I got some pheromone lures for clearwing moths. And at the time, there hadn't been any clearwing records for mull. So my expectations were quite low. But me of little faith, on an early outing, I got these, which are large red-belted clearwing. I still slightly get palpitations when I look at this photograph on the left. When I got back to the trap and found that it had three adults in it, 3 males. So this is actually this was a new record for Argyll, not just the Isle of Mull. So it's quite a special thing. Couple of weeks after, this turned up in a pheromone trap. This is Welsh clearwing, which is probably the lep of my life so far. If I had to pick a favourite, this would probably be it. This was completely unexpected. The next nearest record to mull of this moth is about 100 kilometres away in the Trossachs, so it was really unexpected for it to turn up. So that was a real surprise. That was new for Argyll as well. Then the day after, in my garden, I had this lunar hornet moth come to a pheromone trap again. So that was quite special. That was the first record for mull. I think there has been an odd one since then. So that was quite a crazy few weeks back in 2021. The excitement that summer didn't end there though, because just a few weeks later, I managed to get this photograph of a rather tatty purple hairstreak, and this one was actually in an oak tree in my garden. Again, that was the first record of my first addition to the butterfly list for Mull, which was quite amazing. I think my feeling is they've probably been here quite a while. I found them in one or two other places on Mull, a few miles away. So I think they're fairly well established, just under recorded. And later that winter, a few months later, in the same year in the winter, I went looking for eggs of purple hairstreak on fallen twigs in a place where I'd seen the adults. And after quite a few hours of searching in the cold and the wet, I found one egg. These pictures are all of the same egg. The bottom left picture is from the following spring, and you can see the little dark point there where it's just hatching. And that caterpillar became the most pampered caterpillar in the west of Scotland for a few months. And the following July, I was rewarded with this amazing, beautiful female that emerged. And that's certainly one of the highlights of my butterfly life, really, seeing that adult successfully emerge. It was just amazing. They're probably quite common where you are, but they're not they're not common in this part of the UK. So that was it for 2021. The following year, finally, I was quite lucky again, as Simon knows, to find a checkered skipper here on Mull. There'd been a rumour from quite a few years ago. Somebody thought they'd seen one, but there was no evidence. So this finally confirmed that they are here, and they seem to be doing quite well in the area where I found this one. If that wasn't enough excitement, the same time, just by coincidence, that same week, one of the Springwatch teams were on Mull, and here they are. There's Yolo looking. He's standing pretty much where I took that photo. There's the cameraman and the crew. There were actually two cameramen, but it was a scorching hot day, and the other cameraman disappeared into the river for a swim. We didn't see much of him. So that was really an exciting time as well. And I just hope, well, I'm sure there'll be other things to discover over the next months and years, but there was just some of the highlights that I just wanted to share with you from the last couple of years.
Thank you, Chris. I knew you'd been a pioneer. That's absolutely fabulous. And Chris was kind enough to show me the checkered skipper when I was there in the summer. I was due to be there last year, but my son fell ill and I couldn't travel, so I missed the Springwatch version of it. But if you haven't been to Mull already, I thoroughly recommend you take a trip. It's worth flying all the way to the UK for. It's well done, Brian. It's really worth it. Fabulous, Chris. Really great stuff. Corinne, did you want to go next?
Yes, I'd like to go next. You're going to run my pictures when I shout, if you don't mind.
I am, if I can find the right. There we are.
Right.
We need to do that. No, right. Share. Hang on.
Don't share yet. Don't share yet.
Okay.
I'm Corinne Stevenson. I'm a science teacher, and I want to talk about how I got into butterflies. I suppose my first experience was when I was growing up in Sussex. We had loads of butterflies, didn't know what they were, but they were beautiful and I loved them. And then I suppose my next encounter was at school in early secondary when we did the life cycle of the butterfly. And then that was it. No contact with butterflies other than seeing them. Then I had the opportunity to go to the United States to deliver a lecture. And as you do at conferences, people were talking, and someone started talking about butterflies, and they talked to me about this lovely butterfly. and I hadn't seen one, and they took me under their wing. And the clue is monarchs. And they took me under their wing and they said, we're going to give you a treat. So you can start showing the pictures, if you don't mind, Simon.
Okay.
That's
Oh, you can't find them.
Yeah, I got to find the right one. Here we go.
Right.
Yeah, these are obviously good admirals. They're not the.
No, that's nothing. That's not mine. Right. So they took me out to this field, and there they showed me the beautiful monarch butterfly, and I was amazed, particularly with its size. I couldn't believe it was such a big butterfly. And they talked to me about what they did, and they said it lays its egg on milkweed. And I said, oh, right. So what they did next was to show me there's an egg. I couldn't believe it. I've never seen a butterfly egg in my whole life. So showed me a few more eggs, and they said, right, we're going to collect those and you're going to grow some monarch butterflies. I was so excited. I cannot describe my excitement. So then they provided me with a tank, plastic tank. We put milkweed in, we put the eggs in, and they told me what I had to do in terms of clearing it out every day and so on. And then the next thing that appeared from the eggs was a caterpillar. Now, the reason it's like that is because it's fat enough. I fed it really well. It's fat enough to start to get itself to go to the top of the tank, to start to change, to become, next slide. There's another one doing the same. Next slide. A chrysalis. And there it was. I was so excited. And I waited for the chrysalis, got impatient waiting for the chrysalis, waited for the chrysalis. And then what happened in my tank was, no, another chrysalis. There it was. Out came the butterfly. I cannot tell you how excited I was. And they told me how to tell the difference between a male and a female, which I didn't know anything about. And then they said, right, we've got to let them go. I was very disappointed. I thought I could bring some back to England because they were mine and I'd grown them. But we went outside and there they were. We put them on the branch and they hung there for a while, getting warm. And then they took off, I think. And then I think the last slide, there it was. I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. I love monarchs. And that, thank you for that, Simon. And that is how I got into butterflies. And this is only a few years ago, about 5 years ago now. And I have to tell you, I'm a science teacher, as I said. In schools, there's not much about butterflies at all. And yet that one thing that I got to do just sparked my interest in butterflies. I came back, I started getting books to look at what butterflies we have in England. And to this day, I'm still excited and I'd love to go out there and do it all again. So I do think, and I have become, if you like, a bit of a zealot when I go into schools to try and get them interested in butterflies. And that growing those butterflies was so exciting. You can tell I'm still excited. But anyway, that's my story. Thank you, Simon.
Lovely. Yes, the joy of breeding the butterflies through, or the moths, and then the frustration of waiting for them to hatch from the chrysalis and going to get a cup of tea at the wrong moment and seeing it having hatched while you've done it. It's always happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, we know about that.
We all know about that. Becki, are you ready to go now? You're happy? You're going to run your own slides, I think, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll share my own slides as well. So my name is Becki. Sorry, go on.
Quick introduction, I was going to say, but you're doing it already, so my apologies.
Oh yeah, I jumped right in. My name is Becki. I live in London. I've been into butterflies. Well, I've kind of loved them all my life, but I've been into them really seriously for about 5 or 6 years now. Interestingly, I think the thing that's first sparked my interest in moths and butterflies was seeing a Jersey tiger moth. I know they're becoming more and more common in London and in the UK at the moment, but when I first saw one, I'd just never seen one before. I had absolutely no idea what it was. It flew out in front of me, landed on a tree, and it just obviously they're incredibly striking looking moths with that lovely stripy body. And then they've got that lovely bright red inside. And I was just incredibly like sort of captivated. I just felt like I just had to know what this moth that I'd seen was. And I think from there I just became very, very interested in just finding out all about the moths and butterflies that we have in the UK and across the world, really. I also do some volunteering with a project called Big City Butterflies. So that's a project that's linked to butterfly conservation, but we're based in London and we're basically all about getting people who live in London and the surrounding areas engaged in finding out more about moths and butterflies, and specifically about the moths and butterflies that actually live in London. It seems a bit strange because I think you always think about moths and butterflies as being a sort of countryside thing, but in London we've actually got a really great range of moths and butterflies. We've actually got an amazing something like 60% of London is actually green space as well, which is obviously great for moths and butterflies as well. So that's a slightly long introduction, and I'm just going to share my screen now. Can everybody see that?
Not yet.
Okay, one sec. Hopefully that is now showing
Yep.
a slideshow. So the other thing that this actually follows on quite nicely from what Richard was talking about earlier, because the other thing that I thought I'd just talk about today when it comes to sharing joyful moth and butterfly experiences is the ones that you don't get a good photo of. So we saw some absolutely stunning purple emperor photos earlier, but I just wanted to talk about earlier this year. I actually went to Nep as well, and I saw my first purple emperor. It was a slightly drizzly day, actually. There were only brief amounts of sun. We only saw one purple emperor, and it was right at the top of a tree. You might be able to spot it in this photo, but if I just do that, you can see it a little bit closer. So this is the only purple emperor I've ever seen in my life. It was like perched on the very top of this tree. Luckily, I was on a sort of tour with a group, and the guide actually had a telescope that he set up. So that was a very, very exciting moment as well. Just being able to look down this telescope and see this amazing, amazing emperor just sort of posing majestically in the tree. It was hard to tell because we couldn't really see the purple sheen on it, but the guide was pretty sure it was a male purple emperor, just because of the behaviour apart from anything else, because it was sort of being quite territorial and seemed to be on the lookout. So I kind of just wanted to share just that sort of I'm sure it's something people in this call have experienced quite a lot, but that sort of absolute thrill when you see a new species for the very first time. There is something incredibly sort of magical about it. And so yeah, this was just a really, really great moment for me in July this year, seeing this first purple emperor. The other thing I just wanted to briefly share was another butterfly that I saw for the first time this year. This was at Hutchinson's Bank, which is a site that Simon actually first let me know about. If you live in London or in the surrounding areas, you probably already know about it. It's this amazing, amazing reserve that's home to a huge number of butterflies, a really beautiful place. And it's also only about half an hour from Croydon, which always seems, you get a little tram there, and it always seems quite surreal to go from like one of the busiest spots in London to this sort of completely sort of remote like sort of reserve. So I was there earlier this year in the summer, and I was just had a day off work, so I just thought I'd go and see what was there. And I'd been there about 2 minutes, and this beautiful white admiral just flew down and landed on the path right in front of me. I'd never seen one before, so that was a really, really exciting sort of butterfly first for me in 2023 as well. And then really quickly, the final sort of happy butterfly thing I just wanted to talk about was some of the volunteering stuff I've done this year with Big City Butterflies. Kind of links to what Corinne was saying as well about just wanting to let, you know, sort of let kids know more about moths and butterflies. Really, we've done lots of outreach events. We've done lots of stuff working with school children across London. And these are some pictures from a butterfly walk that we did back in the summer. This was quite fun. We took the kids on a walk. We got them very interested in seeing what moths and butterflies they could spot. We saw some red admirals, we saw some large and small whites, and we also saw some holly blues. We'd also done a moth trap the night before, so that was quite fun. So we were able to share opening up the moth trap with the kids as well, which was really nice. I think one of the nice things about doing stuff with kids and talking about moths and butterflies is you get some really odd questions. Actually, I got asked, does a caterpillar know it's going to become a butterfly? Which was something I definitely had to think about quite a lot as well. So yeah, that's my sort of happy butterfly kind of moments summary.
That was lovely. Thank you, Becki. And lovely to see the kids enjoying the engagement and remembering it's about people and the reaction that people have here. It's so important, isn't it? And my heart lifted when you talked about seeing your first, you know, it's such a great feeling, isn't it? That first moment, especially when you've done it by yourself, you know, and yeah, it's great. Thank you so much. Anyway, Corinne, did you making a comment there? Did I see anyone want to make a comment? Corinne? No?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Becki. That's super. Bill, did you want to go next?
Yes. Could you put my slides up there, Simon?
Yeah. Find the right ones, Bill. It's the 2 favorite butterflies, isn't it?
Yes, my two. That's right. That's what I'm talking about today.
All right. Yeah. Be it coming through now.
Right. Okay. Okay. Let's go through to the first. Let's go through to the first slide. Okay. So, by way of introduction, I'm Bill Downey. I'm the I'm vice chair to Simon in Surrey, and I'm going to talk about my 2 favourite butterflies. I'm the Transit coordinator for Surrey, and I started walking back in 2014, and I'd been sort of talked into it by one of the Surrey Wildlife Trust rangers, and she got me to walk this site here, which you can see on the left side of the screen. This is Quarry Hangers, which is a chalk site, and I walked it for the first 2 weeks, and I saw absolutely zilch, saw absolutely nothing, and went back to do my 3rd walk, and again it wasn't a very good day, and I wasn't seeing very much, and I sat down on the bench, which you can see there, which is at the top of the bowl. Nice little spot just to kind of contemplate my lot, and I was thinking, oh my God, have I bitten off more than I could chew here? And just at that moment, there was a little blur of silver wings, and this butterfly, not actually the one in the photo, of course, but this butterfly, the Grizzled skipper, came down and sat next to me on the bench. And I looked at it, and I'd never seen one before, and I thought, that's a Grizzled skipper. That's rare. And although it didn't stay very long, what it was, I think, was the first sort of great moment of my recording career. And immediately I kind of felt that my spirits lifted. And really, ever since then, I've never looked back. I started really enjoying my transit walking and recording and surveying butterflies. And I think it was the first really of a number of great moments. A number of people have said, you know, that they have great moments. This really was the this really was the sort of the first one that I'd had. And the great moments are the things which you remember at the end of the season. You forget the days when you go out butterflying and the weather doesn't behave. What you remember is when it all came together, and seeing something rare, seeing something unusual really lifted your spirits. I don't walk at quarry hangers anymore. I've passed it on to someone else, but I do still walk transects along the chalk, and I always look for the grizzled skipper, and I love seeing them. They're out very, very early in the year, and you can still find them. They can still find them reliably on the chalk, and you can still find them in the Weald as well. Although that's trying to find them is like looking for a needle in a haystack. So that's my first favorite butterfly. My second, if you could move on to the next slide, Simon, is the white letter hairstreak. And Brian, this is a species which I believe you don't have in America, because they keep on trying to grow American elms in England. In fact, King Charles had quite a few American elms planted on his estate, and the white letter wouldn't use them at all. So this is my favorite photo of a white letter hairstreak, which clearly is not going to win any photographic competition. But there's something I really like about it, because it just has this kind of air of mystery about it. And I became the species champion for this particular butterfly when we last sort of rejigged our regional action plan. We decided that we really didn't know very much about it, and we really needed to find out more. And in the photo, this is really how you see it. It's not a species which is going to flutter down in front of you. This is a species which you'll only really see 99% of time up in the canopy, and just if you get that sort of, if you get a glimpse of it like that, you're really doing quite well. They're usually pretty inactive, but sometimes they're highly inactive. They're highly active, and there's a great burst of activity. And if you look at the top right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see that there are two males there, and they're engaged in a kind of a dogfight. And quite a few times I've sat in London parks and watched this kind of aerial ballet which goes on at the top of the trees, usually with people walking past underneath, completely oblivious to the kind of the drama that's going on in the trees above them. I think the other thing I'd say about this is that, as I've sort of studied it and got to know it a lot better, I've come to really admire this species, because of all the species which we have in the UK, this has probably had the most thrown at it in terms of the loss of habitat. Of course, there's been Dutch elm disease, but wherever I look for it, wherever there's suitable elm habitat, there it is. And it's just a case study in sort of resilience and pluckiness. And as I said, I've really come to admire it. It's not phased at all by the proximity of people. In fact, in London, one of the best places that you can look for it is along the South Circular Road. And, with sort of vans and pantechnicons whizzing past, the butterfly just doesn't give a stuff. It's very, very, it doesn't mind that at all. And so if we could go on to my final slide. This is an idea. It's not my own idea. It's an idea I take from Matthew Oates, which is that butterflies really take you to beautiful places. So I could have shown you a slide of the North Downs and all the views, sort of, you know, southwards to the south coast, but this is something I found which I certainly wasn't expecting. This is on Outwood Common. The tree on the left-hand side is an oak, a mature oak, and then the trees in the centre and to the right of the picture are mature elm trees, which
Wow.
is very, very rare in England. This is at Cobbler's Shaw at Outwood Common. So it takes you to beautiful places, and you have some quite unusual encounters. So I was watching white-letter hairstreaks once, lying in a ditch in Mitcham Common, and I heard some footsteps approach. "Excuse me, sir," he said. "Do you mind telling me what you're doing?" "Oh, yes, Constable," I said. "I'm from Butterfly Conservation, and I'm looking at these elm trees here, and there's this particularly rare butterfly which is flying up there in the canopy." "Oh, sir," he said. "Oh, well," he said, "that's a noble calling." So that was those are my two favorite butterflies, and I look forward to seeing them again each year, along with monarchs, which I have seen in Toronto.
Really good, very good.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, I love the white-letter hairstreak. That's super. We're getting near 8 o'clock. I'm going to share mine now, if that's okay. And if I can find the right one. I'll find the right, sorry, pardon me, while I find the right slide. Here we go.
Here we go.
Hopefully.
Butterflies at night.
Butterflies at night, but I don't know what's happening here. Oh, stop sharing. Anyway, I'm going to refer to this book as I talk. This is The Complete Butterflies, British Butterflies in Colour by L. Hugh Newman. And it used to look like this on the front, but I was 10 at the time and covered it in paper, brown paper, as I was taught to do by my school. And I'll try and share again the right slide pack. Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay. Bear with me. Sorry about this.
It's all fine.
Yeah, what can possibly go wrong, eh? Here
That's
we
what
are.
my friend Simon always says.
Yeah, indeed. Share button. That's the one I want to share.
There.
Is that coming through now? There we are. And of course, I haven't mentioned the Red Admiral yet, but of course, this is not my picture, but this has been the year of the Red Admiral in the UK, and there are just lots here. But I'm going to talk about how I kind of got into butterflies, and it refers to the Purple Emperor again, I'm afraid, but it's a bit of an obsession. So this is where I went to school, the building down in the bottom part of the picture. It's a grammar school in a town called Swanage on the south coast of England, and the bay is visible there. I was born a couple of miles away from here, and and I didn't realize how idyllic and great a butterfly location it was until I got to a later life. But when I was about 10, I got into butterflies for various reasons, and the school used to have it was called a festival, but it was a kind of old-fashioned school that's divided into 4 houses, and you had to, in the summer term, you had to do various activities, and one of them was writing an essay. So when I was about 12, I won the junior short story essay competition with a story about the Purple Emperor, and you can see it's there. It's only a couple of pages long, but it talked about this book that I showed you, and me fictionally visiting a uncle in the middle of England somewhere. And at this stage, the Purple Emperor was quite a rare butterfly, and it talked about my efforts to hunt down the Purple Emperor, and in those days catch one and set it on a board. I'm ashamed of that now, but that's what we used to do in those days. And it talks about the thrill of the chase and the heart lifting as I saw that for the first time. And I was about 12 when I wrote this story, and I didn't see my first Purple Emperor for many years after this. And when I did, I think it's 2014. I think that was my first Purple Emperor. And I think that was Bookham Commons. I can't quite remember, in Surrey. And I can still remember the thrill of finding it. And it was like I wrote in my story. It was kind of prescient. In my story, I'd written down how I would feel when I'd been able to go out and hunt down I was by myself, so I wasn't with other people. Hunt down a Purple Emperor and managed to get a rubbish photo of it. And then in 2018, you see on the right-hand side, I went to a place, I think it's Northamptonshire, in the middle of England, called Firmin Woods, where the Purple Emperors routinely come down to ground level very commonly. And there I was able to get one onto my finger and it's quite magical to get a butterfly onto your hands. Moths are quite easy, butterflies are not easy. But because my hand was a bit sweaty or whatever, the Purple Emperor was happy to sit there, and other folk on this call will know that's the situation. And then another one in Firmin, nothing like Richard's photo at the beginning of the session, but this was another of those moments where you think, wow, really pleased to see this. And then in 2020 in Bookham Commons, which is in the middle of Surrey, I saw this individual, and I was training for my cycle ride, which I did from Land's End to John O'Groats the subsequent year. And as you'll remember, this was in the middle of COVID, so there was a short respite when we were allowed to do stuff. Well, I don't know whether we were allowed to, but I did do stuff. And I cycled 25 miles to Bookham Commons and 25 miles back in 30 degrees C heat. Was rewarded by this short. It's a GIF actually, not a video now, of this Purple Emperor. And you probably can imagine my feelings as I saw this, because I'd been walking around the common for hours. It seemed like I was exhausted, and I was just about to leave, and then this lovely male popped up. So it was wonderful. And then just to cap it all, this year I went to Bookham Commons again, and this Purple Emperor was playing around in the foxscat or whatever. I don't know what it was, but anyway, he was having great fun. He wasn't being very photogenic, but he was certainly enjoying himself. So I'll stop sharing now. But the point being that an obsession with a butterfly led to a lifelong involvement with butterflies, and then finally managing to see it and then have some great experiences. But the moment we've described, when you see those butterflies, as Becki and Corinne said, it is joyful, and it just brings pleasure. And the more people we can bring that to, the better the world will be, in my humble estimation. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Corinne. We've reached 8:05. We still have 44 people on the call. If I don't know if somebody else would like to talk, if they want to just speak up and raise their hand, then if people are willing, then kind of why not? Are you happy with that, folks?
Yes, Simon, perfect.
So if anybody wants to say something, just unmute and say something.
Go ahead, put the British Reserve in your pocket and speak.
I know one or two people were possible speakers, and I hadn't engaged with them beforehand because it was late in the day. But if you'd like to, now's your time. No? Come on.
Anyway.
Brian, I want to thank you for your prompting me to embark on something unstructured, focusing on emotion, not on lots of detail, and focusing on positives, not on negatives. And I think it's been fabulous to do that.
You pulled it off perfectly, and all the speakers did. It was a great diversity of talks, and it was a wonderful afternoon for me and evening for you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Brian, do you want to do the closeout then? Because I think this was partly your event. If you would like to close out and say thank you to folks, then let's do that.
Well, I hope that this serves as an inspiration to other chapters of butterfly conservation to have a night like this. I'm so proud of butterfly conservation and all the things they do, the real important work, the conservation work. We have a long, long way in America to catch up to you. We have a big butterfly watching movement, and that's wonderful, but butterfly conservation is behind you by leaps and bounds. And so in any case, this was a lovely collaboration between a couple of continents here, and we'll do it again. And next time I want to come in person to one of your meetings and come on one of the walks. And my favorite British butterfly is the peacock. I saw a peacock when I was in Scotland a few weeks ago. My daughter gave me a little piece of land in Scotland, and I went up and stepped out, and the peacock came and landed on the roof of the car. So it was wonderful. So thank you everyone so much. This is completely marvelous, and thank you particularly Simon, because it was a little bit of a crazy idea, and you latched onto it, and I think it was a success.
Well, let's make it a tradition that we do this next year.
Absolutely.
Make it a tradition that we have a celebration of butterflies, of whatever makes us happy. And we ask the speakers, like we did this year, 5 minutes or so, and just cheer ourselves up in the darkness of winter. I think it's a fabulous idea. Thank you so much, Brian.
Great.
For your idea.
Welcome, everybody.
Thank you. Brilliant.
Yes, brilliant.
Fabulous.
Giving me a warm glow this evening, especially watching those silver-studded blues flying around in the sunshine.
Oh yeah, wow.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Okay, thank you all. We'll close it there, but thanks so much. It was fabulous.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great Christmas and a healthy New Year.
Thank you
Lots
very
of
much,
butterflies.
Richard.